Welcome to The View. As you can see, the fabulous Barbara Walters is back. This is the travelingest woman in the world. Where have you been? You've been so many places, on many planes.
I've been on a plane for the last 41 hours. Right. Well, as you know, well, maybe you didn't, but I went to Vietnam on vacation, okay? I'll show some pictures later. And I went with very good friends, a wonderful designer, Dion von Furstenberg, and her husband, Barry Dill. I'd never been to Vietnam. Right. Let me tell you, you go there and you think, why on earth did we fight a war? Right. The sweetest people. Neither hither nor yon. Okay. So then I flew home yesterday, and we landed in Anchorage to get gas, and we had mechanical trouble. So I waited 5 hours, got another plane, came to New York, got off at Teterboro, went to Kennedy, got on the plane, flew to Los Angeles, did the special, took the red-eye home, got in this morning at, I don't know, 7:30, washed my face, changed my clothes. Hello!
Job last
in that whole 41 hours, did you go to the bathroom?
No, because you know Barbara never goes to the bathroom.
She doesn't.
Twice you went to the bathroom. You are my shero.
And the bladder of a hero. I mean, really. This is really...
Well, you know, you're only 26, so that's why you can do it.
I gotta tell you, you gotta be young.
First of all, what was it like yesterday being there? Because I thought it was remarkable, the special, but I thought you hit on so many different
very touched points. Because the family asked me to sit. Who are you killing?
There's a fly. That's someone I know.
Let me just tell you that Barack Obama went boom and got it.
Yeah, we need
you're doing this all the time.
Well, yes.
Okay, so I sat just 2 rows behind the family, so I could see the children and
the Jackson family.
The
I saw
Jackson
you there
family.
with your pearls right in the middle of it.
Well, yeah. Well, I was wearing I put the dress on at like 5 o'clock in the morning and took it off last night. I mean, I don't want to tell you what it was like by the end of the day. But to be, you know, to see them very close, to see their expressions, and to see these children whom we have seen covered up, you know, all of these years. Yeah, and the only one who seemed moved, because, you know, sometimes as we were talking about, kids don't really even function, especially after something as horrific as losing your father, you know, like that. But the eldest, the daughter, Paris, kept putting her head on her grandmother's shoulder and then on LaToya's shoulder. Beautiful child, long hair, beautiful child. There she is with her. She's the one who spoke. There she is with her older brother. They happen to be beautiful children. They asked him if he wanted to speak, and I saw him shake his head no. And he and the little boy, who's known as Blanket, who's 6 years old, covered his face when they all went up for the finale, but sat throughout the ceremony, the 2 boys blowing bubble gum, sort of not exactly knowing where they were or why they were there. But, you know, beautiful, good-looking children.
Yeah. They really seem
and
to
that was
comfort
very,
one another,
that was very touching. And, of course, the whole question about what happens with them now, because their grandmother has custody of them, Catherine, but she's, I think, what would be 79?
Is that temporary custody until they get everything ironed out?
Well, so in his will, he left the children to his mother. Now, which is interesting to me, because there are 5 brothers and 3 sisters, and he evidently didn't feel that he wanted his children to be raised by them. Don't know why, this loving family.
Maybe he felt his mother knew best, especially like the world with the parents, the money, mom knows best.
To the children, he left them to Diana Ross. And supposedly she hadn't known that she was named in the will. So, I mean, we still, you know, We'll wait and see.
That's pretty shocking.
It's
You've just inherited 3 children.
It's helpful when doing that to let the person know sometimes that they might have that responsibility.
Isn't it interesting that Michael thought that he would go before his mother went?
He did?
Well, if you leave your children to your mother, you're thinking you're going to go first.
But he did.
That's interesting.
I don't know, because in my estate planning, if something happened to Jeffrey, he goes to my dad.
Something happened to you?
Yeah, he's going to my dad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't.
It's just because there's nobody that I could think of.
That's what's interesting.
How about the kid's father?
Well, when we were together, if something happened to us both, we said.
That is what's interesting, is that there are 5 brothers, there are 3 sisters, not all of them are performers. Reba is not a performer, and yet for whatever reasons, whatever reasons, they were more he was more comfortable with Diana Ross. But you know, I felt I've known, you know Michael better than I do, but I've known Michael and I've known the family for so many years, and to see them and to hug them, and you know, I found it perhaps much more emotional than just as a journalist, because we did a special last night, but I felt, you know, being this close to them.
You could tell your connection
involved.
last night, I thought.
Well,
I thought it was incredibly appropriate, the amount of connection that you had.
You know,
during the
watching
special.
it yesterday was, especially watching Paris, it brought to me how much more of a father he was.
Yeah.
One thing that I liked was Reverend Al Sharpton. There was something that he said.
Can we go down the list, because I know we have that. Well,
Yeah,
only because I think it may be easier for our director.
Okay.
But you talked about Paris. At the end, there was an impromptu finale. It had not been planned. And the children got up on the stage. And that's when the littlest boy put his program over his face and hid his face the way his father used to. And that's when Paris, impromptu, unplanned, took to the microphone. We have that?
Just wanted to say,
Speak up, sweetheart, speak up. Get close.
ever since I was born, Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just wanted to say I love him so much.
By the way, that's Janet Jackson hugging Paris behind her, LaToya, and then the other woman who came in as a non-performing sister.
Right.
Yeah. Enormously touching, very touching. There were some other moments. I mean, everybody, I thought, was very special. Even the audience was respectful and subdued. We heard so much about, you know, crowds and chaos. I mean, there were thousands of people who didn't see it that way. I was very moved by Usher and his singing, and then he went over to the coffin, and then you will see what happened, the family embracing him.
Gone too soon. Gone too soon.
Now, what happened when that was over, as you can see, is that the whole family, Jackson family, stood up and embraced him for the first time that they had come. Just one more thing about it. Gone Too Soon was what Michael Jackson said to me about Princess Diana. And we had shown that at some point. And now here is Usher singing the same song.
Well, you know, I want to say about Usher before I go to Al Sharpton. You know, Michael, you know, shaped Usher's style, choreography, performancing, so everything.
Of the people who were
you know, absolutely. Al Sharpton, I thought he said something so poignant that I felt, despite what adults might feel, his children needed to hear this.
And I want his 3 children to know, wasn't nothing strange about your daddy. It was strange what your daddy had to deal with. But he dealt with it.
That was a whale.
I just thought this was good. His kids are going to hear so much negative stuff if they haven't already.
It's a message to everybody else.
Last night they heard, I mean, nothing but yesterday.
I'm not saying that night, but I'm saying they, you know, things will come up. It was important that they hear.
He had a rough childhood, Michael. His father doesn't sound like the greatest guy, so maybe that was also a contributory factor.
I think that was also
the so-called weirdness that people talk about.
But I think that was a message to the public too. I think it was to the children, yes, but also a message to everybody else to let these children have their father and see him the way that they saw him.
Stevie Wonder also said, you know, you may talk about his music, but he was a great humanitarian. Look, the truth is that he was an eccentric person, but everybody, the one thing that everyone who knows him seems to agree, including his children, that he was a very loving and caring father.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, he out of any artist, he holds the record, what Kobe Bryant said in the World's Book of Guinness Records, of being the artist that contributed to the most charities and, you know, set up the most charities out of any artist ever.
Very good, he said. He was the greatest entertainer in ever. ever?
Well, that remains to be seen because we're still living, and he was an extraordinary entertainer. He was, like many of us are, slightly eccentric, a little bit different. I, myself, understand that label. So when we go, as we often do, you know we're going to come right back because we have more hot topics. But to one of the, for me at least, one of the standout performances at this memorial, so lovely and so simple, was John Mayer. Oh. So we're going to bump out with that.